The first day of the United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP29, lacked the pomp and hype that is signature to the opening ceremony, owing to the lack of agenda for this year's gathering. Negotiators failed to agree on what should be included in the agenda of the 29th session of the UN Forum, which is taking place in Baku, Azerbaijan. This has now slowed down matters at the conference ahead of the arrival of heads of state and government on Tuesday. Our sustainability editor Zainab Wandati is in Baku and now tells us the implications of this.
The first day of a conference of parties usually kicks off with an opening plenary where delegates sit and elect a new president and then adopt the agenda for the COP, which will then guide the meeting till the end. But at COP29, no agenda was adopted. In fact, the opening plenary was disrupted a bit and did not run to conclusion due to the lack of an agenda. This was driven by the failure of negotiators to agree on what agenda items they wanted discussed at this COP. And one particular matter that they've been fighting over and over is climate finance. COP29 was touted as a climate finance COP, which means it is the COP that's supposed to deliver the climate finance needs for the developing world. And so the agenda item on climate finance, which has 18 sub-agenda items, was there's a lot of back and forth on it, and they never agreed on it. And so negotiators left this site at 4 a.m. this morning.
Basically, in the negotiation rooms, negotiators discuss about one certain issues. Then the negotiations goes paragraph by paragraphs. Maybe one word can create a big trouble, or can make the meaning of that interpretation is really huge. So because of that one, really countries need to consult, one, as a negotiator on the ideas, two, on the legal matter, so they need to come up with their own lawyers. So third one, also the political implications. So all these three level of discussions needs to be considered. So that's why negotiators stays up to the nights, because maybe one wording might create a big interpretation. So because of that one, negotiators stay very low. For example, yesterday we were discussing about agenda item adoptions on global stocktake. So that needs to be considered under the finance agenda items. So with few words we couldn't reach a consensus, and still the opening is still going on and the adoption still being waited until parties to agree and reach consensus on the agenda adoption.
So there are lots of speculation on what will happen if there's no agenda. Some people say that if there's no agenda, if the agenda is not adopted, the negotiations will still continue until an agenda is adopted. There are other quarters that say no, these talks cannot continue. But what we know for sure is that the delegates are working so hard, and the negotiators particularly, as well as the president of the COP, who is Mukhtar Babayev, working so hard to ensure that this agenda is adopted today.
All right, Zainab.